Other than politics, economic headlines dominate the news every day, and every story comes with media opinions that get people talking in cafes and offices.
Currently, Malaysia is ongoing aging society problem. 20-30 years from now, we have a population of old-age people who can't take care themselves.
Who are the minds guiding Malaysia's economic story? Find out on Decimal Point.
Must be bold, calculated risk. This is because our new economy will be that level of economy, high pay, and also people with certain skill. When your industry has developed in such a way, offering better pay, you need a very well-trained people to work with you. And that is where the benefit will be for the young generation. What you do must be in line with what the world needs. So in other words, your economic policy is not only confined within your borders, but rather the global business. And then you become a participant in this new business.
Today, when governments and corporations make decisions or set budgets, they rely on data. But who produces that data, and how is it being interpreted? Behind the scenes, teams of researchers, often economists, analyze trends across society and business. In a fast-changing world, data becomes a powerful force shaping our lives. We speak to a senior researcher to understand why their work matters and why we should all be in search of economic truth. Do tell us, as an economist, what does your work really look like actually?
I'll give you an example. If I need to look at competitors for Malaysian semiconductors while we're thinking about exporting to the US, that's probably something that I can look up within 30 minutes. Mm-hmm. There are some other information that I might need more time. So after taking all the information from data, the next job is to analyze and present them in a way that the public can understand. Mm-hmm. So that's an important task in an economist's role. You can't have sophisticated or overcomplicated analysis without having the ability to present your ideas to the general public. And then there's also research that require you to look for your own data. For instance, I'm currently looking at the impact of technology platform on gig workers. So I want to look at how young people right now in their 20s, maybe late 20s, and even teenagers go into gig work and how their lives are going to be 30, 40 years down the road. So this kind of data is not readily available. So I would have to go out and perhaps interview gig workers and see what kind of income they're earning, what kind of livelihood they are experiencing, and if they are saving enough for old age.
I mean, you mentioned earlier one of your specialties is actually coming to cover on the gig workers as well. And this is one of the pressing issues, as we can see, notably gig workers are on the rise in Malaysia. I mean, why do these issues, deserve attention, and how are they affecting or taking shape of Malaysia's future?
Well, I look at it as an emerging issue under the umbrella of technological change. So during our parents' generation, there's no convenient platform where people can look for jobs or be hired for something temporary. So with the convenience of becoming a food delivery worker or just driving people around, that has actually changed the shape of the labor market. We all know that currently Malaysia is ongoing aging society problem. The government has to think about how old people or retiring people, if they have the ability to have a quality life in old age. But to compound on this issue, in perhaps 15, 20 years, we'll have all these gig workers who only have inconsistent income currently going into retirement. So if you look at the future, 20, 30 years from now, we have a population of old age people who can't take care themselves. So I think this is an important question. On a more personal note, I'm from Sabah, and what I see currently is a lot of young people, whether they're in secondary school or post-secondary school, with the lack of opportunities currently, they go into gig work or they move to the Peninsula, JB or Singapore. So by studying the nature of gig work and trying to reveal all its characteristics and perhaps look at ways where gig work can be improved, I hope to get more young Sabahans to stay in Sabah and work to develop the economy. Young people who enter gig work, they are enthusiastic about receiving income at an early age. What will happen when you're 23 years old with a child? That's something that we need to study and think about.
You have to formulate your policy based on what you think will be happening in the world. What will happen to the world after, say, 2030 or 2050.
Fiscal policies, monetary policies, trade policies, industrial policies. Every blueprint and budget, like the 13 Malaysia Plan, is driven by data and future projections. Mr. Azizul, this is very interesting as well when you're touching on, seeing the future as well for these gig workers. Now, what can you comment as an economist in the recent budget as well? I mean, is it being fair to the gig workers or propelling them, or it could have been better? What's your take?
Well, gig work is not only a state and even national level question. Actually, all over the world, we're seeing gig workers face the same problems and just change the nature of work. So I've seen footage of delivery workers protesting in Germany, protesting in the UK, Indonesia, and there are changes that are happening in certain parts of the world where we can look at and see how they may improve the plight of gig workers. For instance, in California, they have enacted a law which enable gig workers to become employees, but you have to meet certain type of conditions. So as an economist or somebody that is studying this issue, I'm looking at ways where we can formalize gig workers. However, this is an issue, as I said, it's global because of technology. So I think it will be a while before we get there, the California-style enactment, but it doesn't mean that we should wait. We can try to educate the public, we can try to educate young people about the nature of gig work. And young people who enter gig work, they are enthusiastic about receiving income at an early age. Young people get excited. You're Form 5, maybe you get 300, 500, 1,000 ringgit a month. It's exciting. And once you enter full-time gig work and forego education, what will happen when you're 23 years old with a child? That's something that we need to study and think about.
Are any of your recent research that you can also provide us with some information or any strategies moving forward for these?
Of course, the government has enacted gig work law. Most of the recommendations are voluntary. Looking at one particular area, security in retirement, right? Now gig workers can voluntarily put in money into KWSP for their retirement. However, there are a lot of factors that affecting the rate of contribution. Gig work is people like to have cash and like to spend. I'm not even sure if regular workers who work full-time, if given the option to voluntarily put in money to the KWSP, they would do so with good discipline. So perhaps it's too much to ask for gig workers at the time being. At least it's a start. It's a framework that creates a pathway for future improvements.
Why does Malaysia need more economists, and what role do economists play in the society?
Modern economics has developed in a way that it is a versatile discipline. I think if you go to an undergraduate economics course today, you learn about history, you learn about philosophy, you learn about sociology, how people and societies arrange themselves. Then you might learn a bit about accounting, you learn a bit about law. So in sum, economics is a way to look at the world. And it's more important today because with technology in the digital age, we have abundance of data. So if you study economics today, you will learn a lot of statistics and mathematical methods. And they're very lucky that they have all this access to data, whether it's from government, whether it's just being able to observe the world. You go to websites, you go to other research centers, there are many sources of data, and you can do a lot of analysis that could provide insight to your research. I like to say that economists have always been around policymakers. They might not call themselves economists, but most policy makers in government, think tanks, even in technology companies, they have the training in economics, and they use economics tools to make analysis and provide insights to government, to businesses, and they just don't call themselves economists, but they do have the tools and background of being economists.
Yeah, this is very interesting, Mr. Azizul. I'm also interested to know what is the difference between economists in the past without digital adoption and also now when moving towards the new trend and era?
Yes, it's a very good question. In the past, if you need to know anything about demography in Sarawak, you'd have to buy a book from Jabatan Statistik. You might need to go over to Jabatan Statistik or for them to post it to you, which takes a while. And then you have to transcribe the data manually. Now, everything is available online. And to be able to do analysis on demography in Sarawak, the different demographic properties of different districts in Sarawak, those are available online. You can download the data and you can analyze them using your own software. Put them in a spreadsheet and you can come up with beautiful graphics to inform the public. So your job as an economist is more effective. You save time, and also you can disseminate your research insights to the public. And the way that the advancements in computing power is such that you no longer need people in graphics to do the graph. You can present your analysis and data and inform people immediately without having to write anything, just in the form of insightful graphics. That's, I think, something that is very useful.
Very insightful as well to go through within the era and the hardships of previous economists. And now data can be taken in from anywhere. I think that's also what you mentioned, that data is very important.
It's not the role of economists to make decisions. It's the role of economists to inform politicians, inform public. These are the cost benefits of doing something.
When budgets like the 2026 budget or Sarawak budget are announced, economists are the first to spot the signals showing how the economy is really performing. But for everyday Malaysians focused on our bread and butter, it helps to understand the basics too, because these affect prices and show us where we are heading. All right, Mr. Azizul, for everyday Malaysians who are very focused on the daily bread and butter and who don't track economic data, what are the key things they should pay attention to the country's economic health, and why should they?
It is a bit challenging to connect between individual economic data and daily lives. That's why we always hear in social media when number published by the government is being released, there would be people who be skeptical or think it's not plausible. So I think a helpful way of looking at economic data is to look at it over time. Meaning, I'll give you an example. If the government say the current inflation rate is 1.8%, and some people would think, well, prices of goods and services are expensive. What doesn't make sense, 1.8%. But you have to look at it as something that has gone on over a period of time, meaning this 1.8%, does that mean it's today, or it is actually a gauge of prices since last year? So I think it is a common problem for society to connect information from statistics, economic statistics, and their daily lives. And some things can only be observed over a period of time. Our standard of living is better than that of our parents. But if we are presented with the average income of somebody today in Bandaraya Kuching is X, it doesn't make much sense on its own.
They can comment on certain statistics and make their own, assumptions about a data.
Economists and the government needs to be consistent and with sharing data over time, so people are familiar with the information that they are sharing. And also with this new media, new way of engagement, economists also probably need to look at ways of connecting with young people, because young people today are faced with many challenges that we didn't face in our time. So, and they have been trained by social media to react and to look for instantaneous confirmation of whatever facts out there. And that goes against the discipline of economics, where things evolve over time. So the key is consistency in presenting or reaching out to this population so that whenever there's something odd in the economy or data is changing, it'll be easier for the society to digest.
From an economist's point of view, in an ideal world, how do all these economic conversations shape national conversations as well and influence policy decisions?
I think the government has been quite good at engaging and even employing good economists, whether at the federal level and state level. Economists always had opportunities to provide input. I think in the times of digital age, economists need to stay honest and not fall into easy proclamations, meaning what we read in popular media is not necessarily something that is that fits economic type of arguments. People tend to claim that the government is neglecting this segment of society, the government is not doing that, we are surrendering certain things. Those arguments are not economic arguments, those are polemics. So the role of economists is to lay out all the pros and cons, the cost benefit of certain policies so that the public and government can be informed when a policy is enacted. We shouldn't be looking at easy solutions and easy condemnation things. There's an American president who had asked for a one-arm economist. I guess that's the problem of economics in public policy, is that even presidents, even the government expect you to recommend something specific, something that is always right. But economists have to have two hands. On the other hand is this, on the other hand is that. It's not the role of economists to make decisions. It's the role of economists to inform politicians, to inform public. These are the cost benefits of doing something. And the society and government can decide and make informed judgment.
A lot of work happens behind the scenes to shape key government and corporate decisions. Collecting data, conducting surveys, for example with gig workers, is tedious, often unappreciated work. In a world driven by data, we shouldn't form opinions based on emotions or influence. Understanding the facts matters. Join us again in search of economic truth on Decimal Point.